Day 7, where we get emotional. Because even though most of us don't like to think of ourselves as being run by our emotions, lots of clever people have shown that we are for 99% of purchases. Sure, there are a few that we're cool and rational and like the Fonz, but most of the time we're emotional messes reacting to stuff, and we need to think about that when we're doing email marketing, because we've got customers. We want to sell to those customers, and those customers, like us, are going to use their emotions to decide what to do. Not just buy stuff, but also subscribe, invest, follow people on blogs and all this kind of stuff. We need to know how to tap into their emotions. Now, the good thing is that emotions are not only powerful, but they're also a really good golden thread to kind of use throughout your emails to link stuff together. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. So let's remind ourselves of something I said on day 1, all those days ago, 6 days ago. Your customers aren't buying your thing. They're not buying your widget, your course, your collection of DVDs, or your desk, anything like that. What they're doing is they're buying the transformation it's going to bring them. So the old marketing story about people don't buy a drill, they buy a hole in the wall. In fact, they don't even buy the hole in the wall. They buy a hole in the wall so they can hammer a picture in there, so they be constantly reminded of the thing that the picture displays. So they're not buying the hole in the wall, they're buying the experience, the emotion of looking at that photo every single day. So with that in mind, you have to ask yourself, what are you really selling? So the example there is, I thought I was selling magic tricks to brides when I was a magician. I wasn't. It was peace of mind, an end to her worry, and I was selling pride that her wedding day was going to be better than her sister's. That kind of thing. It sounds catty to talk about that and a little bit jokey, but the amount of people, brides that I spoke to, that talked about that thing, it's so much bigger than magic tricks. And this isn't kind of marketing hype where, people exaggerate what their stuff can do. You can take this a little bit too far, but really you need to tap into what are the emotions behind your customers. What are they buying your thing for? What's the transformation? Because that's what we're buying. We're buying a change in emotion. That's what we're buying. So this is the idea that emotions are benefits. So just in case you don't know about the whole features and benefits, feature is what your product is made of. So for example, this table is brown. It's 2 foot wide and about 2 foot back as well. It's made of wood and it's glossy. It's made of it's been varnished, that kind of thing. That would be a feature. So it's 2 foot by 2 foot. It's wood. It's brown and it's glossy. It's varnished. The benefits of that would be it's 2 foot by 2 foot, so it will go, anywhere you need it in the house. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's brown, so it'll go in any kind of room. It can go in your bedroom, the lounge, or even in the kitchen, and it won't look out of place. And it's varnished, so it'll be protected for years no matter what happens with it, if the kids draw on it, that kind of stuff. So the features each have a benefit. And this is what we're talking about when it comes to emotion. You have a feature to your service, and the benefit is the emotion of how it's going to make your audience feel. And a great place to start with emotions is, because this is such a woolly topic, is to click on this link here and go here. So think about what each one of these would look like for your target audience. So a bride, to go back to my magician example, a nervous bride might be nervous about the fact that it's going to be her wedding day and she doesn't want bored guests. She wants to enjoy the happiest day of her life. She wants to walk out of the church seeing smiling faces, and every point of the day she wants people coming up to her going, oh, this is such a great day, had so much fun, this is awesome. She's really worried, nervous that people aren't going to have a good time at her wedding day. Maybe she's insecure about that. Maybe she's terrified about it. But maybe on the other side as well, there's a triumphant feeling that as a magician I'm going to give her, knowing that when she's having her photos taken, she can look at her guests and just hear raucous laughter everywhere. So there's emotion. It's not about the tricks. It's not about what colour cards I'm using or what magic tricks I'm doing. It's the emotions I'm tapping into. That's what she's really buying. So for each of these emotions, you can ask those questions. What does this look like for my client? When and how does my client experience this? How do I make this better or worse? How do I alleviate the negative stuff and heighten the positive emotions for my client. It's not about trying to cram as many of these together in one, but it's more about just being aware that you tap into various emotions for your client, and you can help them access the good stuff, and alleviate the negative stuff. So this is handy because it's all there, and all you have to do, like the checklist, is just look at and go, well, what does contemptuous feel like for my audience? Not all these will relate to your audience, and that's not the point. You don't get bonus points for being able to do that, but it's more like with this, you can at least be sure that you've asked all the questions about your audience and explored all the options. So, and that's how you use it in your marketing. So there's a good example of when I was a magician, I'm tapping into the pain points and tapping into their emotions. And it's the same with email. Emotions as well, like I say here, they're really useful for explaining what you do for people. Because I think you'll see the heavy lifting here. You'll see how this works, I think, already. But just this idea of, I take you from this to this, from nervous to triumphant. When I'm entertaining your wedding guests and all you see is people laughing, you'll go from nervous bride to, oh my God, this is so freaking awesome, I never want this day to end, bride. That kind of thing. And you can play around with this kind of stuff. And this might not be the kind of stuff you use in an email, but you could imagine using it in a networking pitch, or maybe on your website. Imagine that as a headline on your website, on a particular service page, from Frenzied Feline to Chill Cat. It's just a good way of framing what you do. And again, like the other idea I had about, why should you care about this? It brings it back to the clients. If you're talking about the client's emotions, it's not you. It's not me talking about the amazing magic that I'm going to do for you. It spells out to the client, I'm going to help you I'm going to quell any nerves, worry, or anxiety you have on your wedding day about your guests. I will be there during your wedding breakfast, so everybody will be laughing. I will do that for you. You will have an awesome day. No more worries, no more nervousness, no more anxiety. I will do this. I've done it before, I'll do it again. It takes it from you, what you offer, magic tricks, to them. This is how you're going to feel. And the final thing I want to say is that a lot of people like to use stories and analogies in their email. Finding these kind of stuff can be hard. But when you're focusing on an emotion, like I say here, like disappointment, for example, you can just look for stories with disappointment. You can tell the story about disappointment and then easily link it to your thing. It's a bit like the disappointment you experience as a bride when you're let down by a wedding entertainer, blah, 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 and then talk about your thing. So it's this idea that the emotion that you either alleviate for your client, or you improve upon, or you give them the benefit, this emotion could be the golden thread that runs through your email. So you start with a story about disappointment, you frame it back to the client about the disappointment they may feel on their wedding day when they see their guest looking bored. You talk about the disappointment you alleviate when you do this, and you talk about taking them from disappointment to overjoyed, blah, blah, blah. And it just threads the whole email together so much easily. And as you can see there's a good basic example of how you could use this and how you could kind of weave the emotion throughout the entire thing. And there's a task for you to have a go at this for today. Have a look for 3 positive emotions, 3 negative ones, and just complete that. Have a go and see how you get on with this. I realize emotions are a tricky thing, but like the checklist, when you've got a kind of guide here, you've got a kind of prompt, almost like, what would dreadful look like for my audience? What would horrified look for my audience? What would perplexed look for my audience? Not all of them will be relevant, but it's kind of like a good brain dump exercise. Just like the hot topics, just coming up with stuff and playing with these kind of things and seeing what comes up. Have a go at that, and it should be fun. Emotions are a tricky thing to get right, but they're worth persisting with because it's powerful and it focuses the attention on the client, which is where it should be, rather than talking about your own thing. But yeah, if you've got any questions at all, fire them at me, but I'll see you tomorrow.